subject matter of sociology that keeps coming up in UPSC exam or any other exam, and for anybody who is interested in sociology per se, must have certain idea about different things. So an interesting theme that I want to discuss today is education. And when we are talking about education, and a theme that has been talked about, Basil Bernstein, who was interested about the whole idea of class inequality and education. So basically, why certain people who belong to a lower class get a lower kind of an education, despite of them being in schools and going to similar classes, having similar teachers, but still we see that people belonging to lower class, and in specific to our country, when we talk about the divisions, which is very much an interesting theme for the sociologists, the caste system also matters when we are talking about the differences in education. So Basil Bernstein said that when we are talking about education, there is a different kind of an education pattern depending upon the classes of the society. So he developed a very interesting idea of different language codes. So what does it mean? He said that the working class children, they represent a restricted code. So when he was talking about the language codes, there are two types of codes. One is the restricted code, and the other one is an elaborate code. With restricted code, he meant that the working class children, they use a different kind of a speech because they belong from a particular family, particular neighborhood culture, and because of that they have a different kind of a behavior altogether. And whereas the middle class children, they acquire an elaborate code, which means that they understand the meanings of the word while they are speaking. They kind of understand the particular situation and the demand of the situation. They can express their ideas in much better way as compared to the working class students. So which is why as the children who have acquired elaborate codes of speech, which is the middle class and the higher class, they perform really well in academic education system than those who acquire restricted code. So there is an inferior type of a speech, right, which is why they become very deprived, and the way in which their the speech that they have, it clashes with the academic culture of their school. So why this idea of Basil Bernstein becomes important is because when a question comes up on education, sociology of education, it can be any kind of a question, talking about, even on COVID-19 they could have asked that why do we have digital education is so restricted, and how does it impact people and students. So there is a kind of digital divide. Why there is a digital divide? On one hand, the physical infrastructure is a lack, right? Everybody do not have mobile phones, and we have been reading in newspapers every other day. There are articles that there is lack of mobile phones, there is lack of computers and laptops. A family having 4 or 5 kids who need to undertake education system, they they have one laptop, single laptop, and how do they carry on their studies? So that is one thing that kind of restricts and creates a class divide and a the digital divide. On the other hand, when we are talking about why is it that the education system, even if it is reaching all people, why is that the lower class students, they are not able to perform better as compared to the middle class or the upper caste or the rich class? This is because of the language, the restricted code and the elaborate code that Basil Bernstein talked about. So the restricted code particularly belongs to the working class, whereas the elaborate code belongs to the middle class or the rich class. And this is a very important theme to discuss. I hope you like the video.